This is WNUT Talk on the WNUT Radio Network. You are listening to WNUT Talk right here on the WNUT Radio Network. You might, I don't know, maybe you're streaming us on Live 365, where we are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, just hitting you with music and shows and all kinds of fun stuff. But if you're not, you're probably on your favorite podcast network like Spotify or Amazon or Apple, whichever one you're listening to us on. I highly recommend you go check out the other one. Get a little bit of that cross-platform pollination, whatnot going on. I am Brandon, a.k.a. Stoney, potentially the best host in radio history, in all of podcasting. I'm probably up there with your Joe Rogans and your, I can't think of other podcasters right now, but come on, man, it's me. I'm your guide for this roughly hour, half an hour to an hour. We're going to see where the day takes us. You're in good hands because you not only got me, the greatest host in all of radio, but you have Paul from Connecticut.
I'm here.
Who's back in the studio with me today. Man, if you missed it, we were just a few months ago kicking back doing some 6 degrees of classic metal where I was throwing bands at you, Mr. Paul.
Yep.
And I was saying, why don't you see how few members you can use to tie this group back to, we were using Whitesnake. There's several bands that you can use when it comes to this game. And I was talking about how incestuous these groups were back in the early 70s. You had Black Sabbath, you had the Ritchie Blackmore bands like Deep Purple and Rainbow, and you had Whitesnake. And the connection I didn't make clear on that episode was Coverdale. Coverdale was in purple.
Coverdale was in purple, and Dio was in Black Sabbath. So you get all three of those bands are like the holy trinity. Dio
was in Sabbath and Rainbow.
Right.
Blackmore was in Rainbow and purple.
Right.
You also had other ones. God, was Glenn. Was it Glenn Hughes? Glenn Hughes we talked about was in Sabbath and was in Deep Purple.
Yep.
Ian Gillan was in Purple and Sabbath. So, I mean, you had a lot of, like I said, it was a very incestuous group of bands. And so that's what we were doing, but I never made clear, like, why did we jump over to Whitesnake for people that didn't know? Coverdale came in as a vocalist in Deep Purple. How did he replace?
He replaced Gillan.
Okay. So Gillan leaves, Coverdale comes in, Coverdale's in purple, but then Coverdale goes off to form Whitesnake. He founds Whitesnake.
Right.
And so, yeah, for those of you who might not have known, because like I said, I'm one of the best hosts in radio history. Why didn't I make that connection for people? Why didn't I make it clear? I should have done that.
Well, you need help every once in a while.
But hey, that's what we're going to get into here in a little bit. So I got a good set of bands to hit Paul with. We're going to see if he can do it again. Who knows? But right off the bat, we didn't jump right into that last time. We talked about all kinds of stuff, like when did heavy metal start? We figured that out for everybody.
Yeah, we figured that out for you guys. You don't have to. It's in the history books now.
We got right to the bottom of it. And today I've got just a couple of topics that I figured these would be good to throw at you. Okay. Because we both like Extreme. We love the band Extreme.
Love Extreme.
Oh my God, you got Gary Cherone, who went on to have a little fun in Van Halen for a while.
Fun. Well, if that's what you want to call it. I don't think he was having that much fun. But
it was an interesting. We may talk about that on a future episode at some point. I've got an idea for superstar slumps. We'll see. But Extreme was a group that am I wrong in saying that the first 3 albums they put out that's like a nonstop tour de force trilogy of like funk rock music.
For sure.
That's an incredible run of 3 albums.
If it wasn't in the late 80s, if it started in like 85, 86, they would have been bigger than they were. He would have ended up becoming the next Eddie Van Halen, like they kept saying he was going to be.
When you talk about funk metal, you hear people talk about that, and they'll always cite bands like Infectious Grooves, which was that a spinoff of Suicidal Tendencies? It had some crossover.
I think so.
You'll hear bands like Fishbone mentioned. Mm-hmm. You will hear groups like Living Colour mentioned.
Yeah.
I think people need to give Extreme more props when it comes to funk metal, because if you look at just the first album alone, which, God, they debuted a song from that album, a song debuted in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure.
They did Play With Me on there,
where they incorporated like the Mozart piece.
Yes.
Rondo alla Turca. And interestingly enough, they were chasing Beethoven around a mall while that was going on. So you had so you're seeing one composer, you're hearing some of the music from another interpolated into this funk metal song. Yeah. But a great album. Self-titled.
It was a great album, but they just got better as the next couple albums came out.
Extreme 2 Do you pronounce it pornograffiti or pornograffiti?
I say pornograffiti.
Okay, I've always said pornograffiti.
I believe that's how they say it in the song. They say pornograffiti.
Okay, yeah. So that makes sense. It was one of those things where, like, back before you could just go on the internet and ask the question, hey, how do y'all pronounce it? I never knew.
Right.
And that to me is probably the greatest. Like, if you're gonna start somebody with extreme, that's where they need to go.
That's where you start. That's where you start. It's got a little bit of everything.
Oh yeah, songs like Get the Funk Out.
Oh yeah.
You've got Wholehearted, which I actually prefer to More Than Words. Just great stuff on that record.
And don't forget When I First Kissed You, which is the little
I recently
Frank Sinatra ballad.
I recently found the deluxe edition, two-disc of that album that has like all the B-sides, the remixes. It has
got what do you call Monica is I think the name of a song on there.
Yes, and it has there's an acapella of More Than Words that'll fucking like just blow you away to hear that. And then Extreme 3, you're talking about 3 sides to every story.
3 sides to every story.
It's the only one I don't have on CD right now.
3 sides on 1 CD.
Yeah. And let me tell you something. You're thinking, okay, they keep building on this thing that they're creating and that they're putting out there, and it's still hitting. Like as kind of like they're not hair metal necessarily, but as that sound is going away,
they looked it
right. They're still charting. They're still getting a lot of play in the music magazines at the time. If you were into this kind of music, you were reading like Hit Parader and Circus. And
Metal Edge. Don't forget about
Metal Edge. And you're seeing interviews with Extreme.
Yeah.
And you're seeing the advertisements for their albums and for their music. And then something happens. And the reason I wanted to bring this up is because I was listening to Waiting for the Punchline,
which is a great album.
So that's what this is perfect. I was very disappointed when I went back and revisited that album.
Okay.
You like that album, so we can talk about what it is that makes you gravitate to that one, and I'll tell you the things that kind of made me go, what the fuck is going on here? It seemed to me like, and this is maybe kind of a not nice way to put it, but it seemed like they showed up in the studio and forgot to bring the songs with them.
Oh, okay.
That's not, and the only reason I say that is because I never had this sense that Extreme was trying to kind of jam in the studio. They always kind of had a roadmap of where they wanted to go. This seemed a more jam-oriented album. And the tempos to me sounded more plodding than I was used to Extreme sounding.
Right. Well, you got to remember the time of the era.
3 sides had come out in 92.
This one came out in 95.
Right. So we got a 3-year gap, and a lot had happened.
A lot had happened.
All we wanted to hear anymore was Soundgarden and Pearl Jam and Nirvana.
So they ended up becoming a little more moody about it. And personally, when I first heard it, I went, oh, they kind of grunged it up a little bit. Right. So my first impression of the album was, okay. I mean, it's not the same.
Which would be fine. Some bands had a lot of success with that.
Yeah.
I loved Warrant's Ultraphobic.
Ultraphobic is a good album. Ultraphobic's a good album. But I was just like, so I listened to it a few times. For me now, it's more nostalgia to that time period.
Granted,
if I'm in the
I
mood
can understand
for something
that.
like that, I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll still take Pornograffiti and 3 Sides to Every Story over that album. But
like revisiting it and listening back, I thought Cynical had a great like funky groove. We're talking about the funk metal that they kind of helped pioneer. You had some excellent guitar work on Midnight Express. Yeah, that instrumental.
That's something he's always done. He did that in concert before they put that album out. Like I was at the 3 Sides to Every Story show.
Yeah,
and his guitar solo was Midnight Express.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of, like Van Halen would always have his little instrumental that he would put on an album. And so
he'd
when
throw
you're
316 in.
And so when you're looking at your little guitars and things like that, when you're looking for that, this will blow you the fuck away. But what you get into on Waiting for the Punchline, it seems like either they just didn't quite have the lyrics finished and they started repeating the title of the song to the point where you're just like, okay, for God's sake. I came up with something called the No Respect Challenge. You listen to that song on repeat for 1 hour and then you go try to function as a human being and see if you can do it.
He did say that. He did say no respect a lot, didn't he?
No respect. No. If you had to listen to that song on repeat for an hour, how do you think what would your mental state be?
I might lose a little respect for them, I guess. I don't know.
that might take away some of your love of this album. But like the tempos of songs like Shadowboxing, Unconditionally, Leave Me Alone, Tell Me Something I Don't Know. They just, this is where you get into a more plodding kind of extreme.
Okay.
And it doesn't seem like the extreme that we all knew and loved. Now, that was definitely the kind of vibe that bands were going to. If you go listen to, you're going to listen to like Soundgarden's Super Unknown and then go listen to this. On the surface, you might go, this is a very similar sound.
Sure.
You know, but I mean, my God.
And it didn't help that you open up the CD. Because remember, this is 1995. There's no downloads or anything like that. It's you get the CD. You open the CD, and the picture you see, first of all, it's a different different drummer.
That's right,
there. Mike Mangini was there. Gary Sharon had shaved all his hair off.
Mangini comes along behind some. He fills some very big shoes.
He's filled some shoes, yeah. You know, but that's the other thing is, you were used to seeing Paul Geary with his 4 drums and do what he did with 4 drums, and then Mike Mangini shows up with this rack of drums.
Oh yeah,
and I don't know. I don't even know if he played on most of that album. I think Gary played on most of the album.
He did. I want to say Gary did maybe all but 3 songs. Mangini came along and recorded like 3 or 4 of them.
He left that band in the middle of the recording. I think Nuno said to him, like one day they were like on a break.
Yeah.
And Paul Geary's on the phone with managers, with the record company, with the merchandise people, and he's wheeling and dealing. And Nuno said to him, you know, I think you're more suited for this these days. And he's like, I think I am.
That's right. I forgot that he had kind of gone into management. He's still doing it today.
He manages Godsmack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the guy had a lot of success. But if you listen to the first 3 Extreme records, what would make you think this guy would be better suited to go into something behind the scenes and something, you know?
Right. Because we didn't really know their
like an administrative kind of
stuff like that. So,
man.
You know, so you just figured he was just this guy who he didn't look like them because he always had the short hair.
Yeah.
He played 4 drums and 2 cymbals and made it work.
But he was so perfect for that sound that they were helping to pioneer and to help architect.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was something that a lot of bands, like I named a few there at the beginning of this little segment, where, you know, they fit into that group of bands, but they sounded very distinct. They weren't just a copy of that kind of thing. They had something going that a lot of bands who would jump into a genre sometimes failed to set themselves apart. And Extreme did not fail in any way.
To set themselves apart from all
to
that
carve
stuff.
out their own niche.
They had their own sound. They were lumped in with all the 80s metal bands.
Yeah.
But they didn't, you know, and they looked like them. And at times they may have sounded like them.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they were Extreme. They were not...
Right.
They were not Bon Jovi. They were not Motley Crue.
They could hang on a tour with like Poison, or they could hang on a tour with Anthrax. They could fit into several different.
Yeah, and when they went out on 3 Sides to Every Story, they brought Saigon Kick with them.
Yeah, and that
was another
God.
band that had their own niche. And
We've talked about
sound.
that before. I love the Lizard and the self-titled album.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad that when I brought this up, I mean, it'd be fine if we both felt the same way. We could commiserate about the album together. But I was surprised and delighted to hear that you did like it.
I love that album.
Yeah.
And there were times I'll just like, if I feel like listening to Extreme, I'll go, you know what? I feel like listening to Waiting for the Punchline.
That's exactly what happened to me. And I had found it in a used music store. I hadn't had the CD in probably at least 10 years, likely more.
Yeah.
And I said, I remember this fondly. I'm going to get it. I know it's not in my collection right now. I have the first 2. I'm working on the rest of my Extreme. I still don't have the stuff they've done since they reunited.
And, you got to get 6.
Oh, I know. 6 is very well received and praised.
Yeah.
So I put in Waiting for the Punchline. I was like, this is not the experience I expected to have. I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Right.
And so, yeah, but I do recommend that you try the No Respect Challenge and get back to me. Let me know how that goes for you.
I'll do it. I'll do it because I'll do. Yeah, I'm in the era of yes. I say yes to a lot of things.
One of these days, I think on one of these episodes, I think Carl and I will play that on one of the flagship episodes.
Okay,
we're gonna play No Respect, and then we're gonna come back and we're gonna say, okay, Paul, just listen to this for an hour. We're gonna check in with him and see what his mental state is, like we did with Aguido.
Yeah, I like that.
Before we take a break and then come back and do a little more 6 Degrees, why don't we talk about the new Megadeth album? Have you listened to
I've listened to it once or twice.
What do you think?
I think it's got my initial thought was it sounded like Megadeth.
Right.
It sounded like, I mean, his voice is a little deeper now, a little darker because
for those who don't know,
older.
new Megadeth album, self-titled, it is being touted as the last Megadeth album.
That's it.
This is going to put the cap on at least the recording career of Megadeth. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I noticed that about the voice as well.
Yeah,
the voice is definitely, I think at times, and I'm not going to pull punches, I think it's weaker than he,
for sure. I mean, he went through his cancer situation. He's older.
Right.
His balls have dropped.
Yeah. He's at a point where he is singing weaker than he used to, and for several reasons.
Right.
But I think that it's not intrusively weaker when you're listening to most of that record.
Right.
I think that when it does make itself known as not being up to what it used to be, it still works for the material, and it works fine. And the material itself, the music and the playing and the musicianship and the writing is strong.
It's strong.
I like it a lot. There's
sure.
there's several songs on there. Yeah, I'm not going to find myself going like I want to listen to that one in particular.
Don't go track
right
by
now.
track because I only listened to it a couple times.
But if you throw it, I'm still not at a place where I can even name it. But if you just throw it on and listen to it all the way through, it is it's better than some of the stuff they've been putting out in the last 10,
He put out a lot of
15
stuff
years.
that it's almost unlistenable.
Yeah. It's a fine note to go out on, I'll say that.
Yeah, it's a good bookend to the career.
Yeah. And they're getting some grief because they recorded a version of Ride the Lightning.
I had no problem with that. I think he sounded pretty good.
I didn't either. That was actually the first one I listened to. Clay, who was on the last WNUT flagship show episode, he sent it to me. He was like, "Listen to this," and I was like, "Oh shit!" Dave's going out on. He's pulling out all the guns for the. He's pulling out all the stops for the last record.
Yeah.
But people are calling it a cover of Metallica's Ride the Lightning.
It's really not a cover because he wrote it.
I'm like, how can you call it a cover if he was one of the writers?
He wrote it, and that was why he did it, because he wanted to do another song that he wrote. He wanted to bookend his career. He did Mechanics on the first one, and he wanted to bookend it with something. And someone said, "Why not do Cthulhu?" And he was like, "I'm not doing Cthulhu. I want to do, a song that with lyrics and stuff like that."
And so, I mean, if that's the one that's as closest to his heart, if that's what he wants to do. So this was cool for him to do, I thought.
Yeah, I think so too.
I really liked
agree.
it. I liked how it was done. That is one of the ones I would say where his voice is a little weaker than you might expect it to be. But I mean, he's also not.
And at the same time, you're hearing the music of Ride the Lightning, and his voice comes out instead of James Hetfield. You go, all right. It kind of takes you by surprise at first. And
or
you go,
even
wait
just the way that he's presenting the notes, even the way that he kind of like emphasizes certain, he's playing the song in a Mustaine way.
He's doing it in a Mustaine way.
He's doing it in the way that Dave would
good
play
for him for doing that and not trying to make it sound too Metallica.
Yeah. So I mean, hey, I'm not saying that's like a how did Kerrang used to give it like 5 or 6 Ks or something, like if it was the greatest album of all time. I'm not saying this is your 5-star album.
Yeah, it's not a Desert Island.
But I'm saying
album.
for one last go round for Megadeth, it's a great one to go out on, and it's definitely, like I said, better than some of the stuff we've been hearing for 10 or 15 years.
For sure.
I think if you're a Megadeth fan, you're gonna have a good time, and you're also gonna find some stuff to be critical of. But hey, there's plenty of that everywhere you look.
Hey, if you're a Megadeth fan and it's not the first 3 albums, you're going to be critical of something.
I know. Turn your mind off and just enjoy it in the first place. I would say first 4 albums, because you got to include.
I love Countdown to Extinction.
Yeah, you got to include
Extinction. It was the first one that I ever got. I mean, when I was younger, I was always hair metal guy. So, and I didn't even listen to Metallica. So when I got the Black Album, less than a year later, Countdown to Extinction came out. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give that a try because that Black Album was really good. I kind of surprised that I liked it. So when I got the other one, I was like, and that actually has my favorite Megadeth song on it.
Which one?
Which is Sweating Bullets.
Oh, yeah. That one. I used to love the. I was in gym with another guy who really loved Megadeth at that time. And we would start going into, "Hello, me, it's me again." And everybody would just be like, "Oh, Christ," with these two. Like, what the fuck is it? And we just would troll the people in our gym class every day with that.
Nice story. Tell it to Reader's Digest.
So yeah, I mean, solid record. I think.
I think so. I agree.
I think you're going to have a pretty good time. And
I may listen to it on the way home now.
And you're definitely going to have a pretty good time if you stick around. Right after these messages, we'll be back and we're going to do some more 6 Degrees of classic metal. So don't go away. Saturday nights at 10, WNUT becomes WJAZ, hosted by the Jazzman, Cool Cat K-Roz, playing all your favorite jazz hits.
Hey cats, I got smooth jazz, I got cool jazz, I got bebop, I got modal jazz, Dixieland and swing, and you know how we swing on WJAZ.
He's even got Queen's 1978 album Jazz, when he's in the mood for fat bottom girls, which is often, but forget about that. And remember WJAZ, every Saturday night at 10.
With me, the Jazzman.
And always streaming on demand on the WNUT YouTube channel. We are back on WNUT Talk. You're in good hands, man, because like I've been telling you, I'm one of the best hosts on the face of the planet when it comes to radio and podcasting. And I got one of the greatest guests I could ask for, especially for this kind of material. I got Paul from Connecticut, who you heard just a few episodes ago doing 6 Degrees of classic metal. Like I said in the last segment, if you're not up on this game, if you don't really know what we're talking about here, we take any metal band from like the 70s, 80s, 90s, whatever. I mean, hell, we were doing some from the 2000s, I think. And we try to see how many, just like with Kevin Bacon, how many degrees can you tie them back to Whitesnake? And we're just picking Whitesnake because they're one of those bands like Sabbath, like Deep Purple, like Rainbow, in the very early days of hard rock and metal, who, you know, pretty much everybody branched off from.
Right.
Every band that you can, that you trace the lineage back, it all seems to go back there.
They all seem to go back there. Yeah.
And Paul is a goddamn expert at doing this. Whether he would self-describe him as an expert, I go ahead and give him that title. I bestow that title upon him. We had talked about Saxon, and
Right.
you couldn't.
I couldn't do Saxon.
You didn't know the
because I didn't
members.
really know the guys.
I did the research.
Okay.
And I got it right here. There's actually 2 ways.
Oh, here we go.
We can tie
I'm
Saxon
ready.
back to Whitesnake. Graham Oliver, the guitarist of Saxon, was in Mickey Finn's T-Rex. That was the reunited T-Rex.
Okay.
Obviously, Mark Bolan from T-Rex was long dead. Jack Green played in Mickey Finn's T-Rex, but he also played with Rainbow.
Oh,
And then you got Blackmore, was in Deep Purple with Coverdale and blah, blah, blah. So,
there it
hey,
goes.
so
Wow.
there, the Saxon,
How about that?
That's like what, 3 degrees, 4 degrees?
that's nice. Nice.
Also, if you wanted to, you could go with the drummer, Pete Gill, who was in Motorhead. Mickey D was in Motorhead, and Mickey D is currently in the Scorpions. And you
Right.
tied the Scorpions
And we tied the Scorpions,
many different ways.
Yeah. Yep.
We also I said the Who, and we couldn't come up with a goddamn way to do
right.
the Who. I
Right.
went ahead and did the heavy lifting, and this was not as easy because I had to just go to like guest features on albums, right?
Okay, yeah.
Roger Daltrey appeared on Mick Jagger's 2001 record, "Goddess in the Doorway." Kenny Aronoff was on that record, and Kenny Aronoff recorded
everybody.
He recorded Blaze of Glory with Bon Jovi.
Yeah.
Sambora played with Orianthi. Orianthi played with Michael Jackson, and then you go on down the line. That's more than 6
That's
degrees.
more than 6,
But it
you
gets
know,
us there.
But you know what? If once you get to Kenny Aronoff, you could
Aronoff probably has a more
get someplace.
He's
else,
probably got a
you know.
more direct tie.
Yeah.
because that motherfucker is
All
like
he's playing with Sammy Hagar right now with Michael Anthony and Joe Satriani, so I'm sure there's something there too.
And I don't think
Satriani
we did Van Halen before.
had Glenn Hughes play bass on one of his albums, so
Oh, well, then
I think
there
we
you
just
go.
shortened that up a little bit.
God
there.
damn, we already figured that out about 20 times. So I mentioned having picked up that Extreme record when I was in a used music store not long ago. Another one that I picked up was "Stick It to You" by Slaughter. I used to have that record, and I haven't heard it in a long time. And I was like, is this going to stand the test of time? Quite like Extreme did. I enjoyed it more than I thought it would, but we didn't.
I agree that it may not stand. I loved it when it first came out. Like Slaughter was one of my bands back then. I listened to it recently, and I was like, it's good.
You know what I never realized was that they were basically a spinoff of the Vinnie Vincent Invasion.
Yes, sir.
Never occurred to me.
Yes, sir.
Never knew that until I was researching them after getting this record like today.
Yeah.
Like basically in today's day and age is when I knew. So why don't we do
with
Slaughter?
Slaughter? Okay.
Take Slaughter.
All right, I got Slaughter.
Time on back.
I got it.
All right.
I got it.
All right. And this is how the machine works.
So Mark Slaughter and Dana Strum were in Vinnie Vincent.
Right.
Before Mark Slaughter, they had a singer on the first album. His name was Mark Fleischman. Mm-hmm. Mark Fleischman sang for Journey for a little while.
Alrighty.
And Journey had a drummer named Ainsley Dunbar.
I almost put Journey on this list, so I'm glad I didn't. Now we're handling it.
That's a 1 degree because Ainsley Dunbar played for both Journey and Whitesnake.
Oh, okay. There we go. Boom.
He was on the 87 album.
So
He was
that's
from
how
an
it works,
87 album.
folks. I mentioned Slaughter. You just saw, like, if you could see what I see, what he does is he looks off into the distance for about, 0.7 seconds, and then he's got the shit. And he just, it just pours out of him, man.
That was not trimmed off in production.
No,
that
no.
was real time.
So and he actually said to me, Mr. Paul from Connecticut said to me the other day, "Oh man, you did a great job in the edit to make me say." No, I didn't. I barely edited anything. I might have edited some places where I didn't know what in the fuck to say,
or where I was stumbling on my words.
Oh my god! So Hanoi Rocks is a band that a lot of people don't give it. Yeah, I might be throwing one at you. I got a couple of left field ones here today.
Well, Hanoi Rocks had Michael Monroe in it, right? And that was the one that had Razzle that died with Vince Neil.
Yes.
I just don't. I'm sure somewhere along the line, Michael Monroe played with somebody.
Yeah.
I don't know the names of any of the other guys. I know Razzle because he was killed in the car accident.
That might be our new Saxon. I might have to check that one out.
Yeah, I think there's going to have to be some research done. But
I was going to say, when people talk about groups from the Sunset Strip back in the day, you got your LA Guns and your GNRs and your Motley Crues.
Motley Crue and
this
Poison,
is a group that was always around and always, doing great stuff, but they don't get mentioned and talked about.
They don't get mentioned a lot.
Right, as reverently as these other groups, especially by people going back and discovering stuff.
Well, I think once Razzle died, they lost their momentum and didn't play for a while.
Exactly. Here's one that you are going to know the members, and I bet you're going to be able to do this. Skid Row.
Oh.
We didn't do them, and I don't know how the fuck I didn't mention them.
It's funny because I was listening to the first album yesterday.
Great album.
And I went, he's probably going to pick Skid Row tomorrow.
That and Slave to the Grind are two of the essential like hard rock metal albums of the 80s and 90s.
All right, so I did it though.
Well, I don't know if lay it on me.
I don't know if it's 6 degrees. I lost count, but Phil Varone, who was the drummer for a while there after when they reunited in '99.
Yeah.
He was also the drummer for Saigon Kick.
Yeah.
Saigon Kick has Jason Bieler as their guitar player, and recently he's been playing with Jeff Scott Soto.
Aha.
And Jeff
we were talking about him last time.
Yeah. Jeff Scott Soto was a singer for Journey. Journey had Ainsley Dunbar. Ainsley Dunbar played for Whitesnake.
Right on down the line.
Right on down the line.
That was a recurring theme on the last episode of this that we did. We would find in later bands I mentioned that we just pulled right onto the old interstate highway that we had already, paved and was already being highly trafficked between Whitesnake and wherever the hell we were going.
Yeah,
so we would just find another on-ramp.
And you got that again.
Yeah. One that we were talking about once we wrapped up that episode, once we didn't have the mics on anymore, you and I were talking about Judas Priest. And I said, we got to see about, I guarantee you, and if you can't come up with one, I got one, but it's basically just a life preserver. So we're not going to need it. I have a feeling, but it's there.
I'm going to go, I want to go the Ripper Road.
Okay.
Ripper Owens Road.
That's a perfectly valid road. Also currently fronting KK's Priest.
Right. He was in a band called New Revenge. Kerry Kelly, who is now in Night Ranger.
Yeah.
James Kotak, who once played for Scorpions.
That's another name that we were hearing last time.
And Phil Susan, who played for Ozzy. He was the bass player for The Ultimate Sin.
And then once you get to Ozzy.
I mean, we went down the Scorpions Road before, so let's go with the Kerry Kelly Road and let's see if we can go through Night Ranger.
Okay. This is like what you did with Bon Jovi. You gave yourself an extra.
I gave myself a little extra.
I'm going to take another challenge.
Take the long way around. So Kerry Kelly is in Night Ranger. With Jack Blades and Tommy Shaw and Ted Nugent being in Damn Yankees.
I was about to say that's
they're not in that band.
That's where I first heard some of these players.
Me too.
I was very young. Yeah.
Kerry Kelly was in a band with Janie Lane.
So you're tripping all over your own dingling here. You can't get
Bobby
there.
Blotzer was in that band.
It's a shame. I mean, congratulations on having a dingling that long, but you're
I'm tripping on it, man.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to get to Whitesnake with it.
Let's go with. Yeah, I'm going with Kerry Kelly to the Saints of the Underground with Bobby Blotzer from Rat. Rat had Warren DeMartini, who played in Whitesnake.
Boom.
So, okay.
There we go. You go medicate your dingling. You got there.
Oh, man, I got to dip it in something.
Yeah. Just soak it after all that abuse. We were just talking about our boys in Extreme. And I don't think we mentioned them even in passing last time. Why don't we put a spotlight on Extreme? And let's see if we can take Extreme back to Whitesnake.
Okay.
Can it be done?
Yeah, of course it can. If Sharon was in Van Halen, He replaced Sammy Hagar.
Even though we don't talk about that sometimes.
We try not to talk about it. Well, we just don't. You know what? The only one I don't want to talk about is that last song that Eddie tried to sing.
Yeah.
Ruined the whole album, that last song.
Yeah, that is what did it.
All right, so Sammy Hagar was in Van Halen. Sammy Hagar has played with Kenny Aronoff. Well, how did we go? We went down that road. Kenny Aronoff played in.
I did that. He did Blaze of Glory with Bon Jovi,
right?
And then we went through Orianthi and Michael Jackson and Slash and Brent Fitz and blah blah blah.
Okay,
That's what we did there.
Well, let's go with that.
Yeah. I'm for it. I'm for it.
We made it. If we made it, it doesn't matter how you make it.
That was extreme. What about another group that can do a little funk, a little thrash, a little bit of everything, a little progressive. Let's go to the progressive route. Let's look at Dream Theater. Let's look at a very versatile band who can and often does play any damn thing they want to.
We were on that extreme highway. Mm-hmm. Well, Mike Mangini was a part of Dream Theater for many years.
So we're basically
Derek Sherinian was the keyboard player for many times, and he played with Billy Idol, Kiss. So let's go Sherinian. Sherinian went to Kiss, or he was with Kiss. He was with Black Country Communion with Glenn Hughes.
All right.
Who's played with David Coverdale.
Yeah. And once you get to Glenn Hughes, I mean, that's fucking 3 or 4 of those bands that we talked about at the beginning.
Black Sabbath, and David Coverdale.
Yeah. While we're dicking around in the progressive metal neighborhood, who lives right across the street from Dream Theater is a group I'm a big fan of, and so is Ivana. Queensryche.
I knew you were going to say that. I heard them today, and I went, he's going to say Queensryche.
Uh-huh.
That's going to be a little tougher.
How the hell did that one not come up before?
That's going to be a little tougher because those guys didn't branch off too much.
We're talking Operation Mindcrime. We're talking Silent Lucidity.
For many, many years, it was the same 5 guys, and they didn't go anywhere.
We're talking about the Last Action Hero soundtrack.
The Last Action Hero soundtrack with The Real World.
The Real World. I just watched that movie the other day.
Chris DeGarmo played with Jerry Cantrell.
Mm-hmm. Ooh. And I already know exactly how to get from there to...
You know how to get there from Allison? Oh, and Mike Inez.
Because Mike Inez.
There it is.
Played with Ozzy.
Played with Ozzy.
Played in Sabbath.
And
once you're at Sabbath...
So on and so forth and so forth and
once
so
you're
on.
at anybody from Sabbath.
Yeah.
So there you go. How about our boys in a group that people don't mention? It's kind of like Hanoi Rocks. You never hear the name of this group, and you should. Black and Blue.
Black and Blue? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well... Tommy Thayer.
Exactly.
It was in Kiss.
And you mentioned them earlier.
We mentioned them earlier. Jamie St. James, I think his name is, the singer. Uh-huh. He sang for Warrant.
Right.
Warrant had James Kotak from Scorpions.
Yes.
So on and so forth with that one. I don't remember how we got down that road, but we did get down the Scorpions road.
Scorpions came up several times. They were one of our common on-ramps last time.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to Tommy Thayer, Kiss was one of our on-ramps earlier in this very conversation.
We could tie Kiss, a few times, sure.
Because I was going to say...
Because, Eric Singer played for Black Sabbath.
Yes. On, I believe, The Eternal Idol.
Okay.
I might be wrong. But, because I was going to say, if we had gotten this far and we hadn't tied Kiss in, I was going to say, let's do them next, but we can't use Tommy Thayer. But we've already explored
the Singer.
Yeah, we've gone down the Kiss. Quiet Riot. This is a band I almost saw one time, but I arrived too late to see them.
Well, Quiet Riot had Rudy Sarzo.
Oh, that's true. Jesus Christ.
That's right. What am I thinking about
I'm not even going to feel bad about that because he turned and got that pensive look in his face where he was like, okay, I got it. Give me a second here. And then it dawned on him. And I saw
Rudy Sarzo.
The look that came over his face at that point was, what the fuck? Like, of course. So, yeah, Quiet Riot
So, yeah.
Boom. Another group that I almost saw, actually same tour, Cinderella. No, different tour.
Kenny Aronoff played for Cinderella.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, fuck.
Fred Curry was out for a while.
He is a repeat offender. We might need to put Kenny Aronoff. We might need to quarantine
Kenny
him.
Aronoff is the have sticks will travel drummer.
If a drummer was fucking needed. I'm surprised that time on the American Music Awards when Guns N' Roses needed a drummer and Adler couldn't do it. I don't know if you remember, but they wound up having Don Henley play on the song Patience.
Yes.
And so it's bizarre to think that a member of the Eagles joined Guns N' Roses for a show.
Well, you know,
how the hell was that not Kenny Aronoff? Is going to be my question.
On one of Don Henley's songs.
That's true. On The End of the Innocence somewhere, he was on.
Yeah, he's on a couple songs from that
because of
album,
the Geffen Records tie. Somehow Geffen was like, we need to get Axl on here, and there'll be synergy between our big artists. And I was just like, how the fuck did you think this was going to be? I don't know.
I mean, it didn't sound horrible. I forgot what the name of the song was that I remember because it's on the Greatest Hits album too.
But that album was '89, and I'm sure that's what led to Don Henley going like, okay, I can step in and play on Patience.
Yeah, so they knew him, and they were like, hey, you want to come on over here? And
I'm going to ramp the difficulty up here.
Okay.
I feel like I'm probably going to run into a band or two that's
gonna
you and I don't know the goddamn
turn the light bulb
for.
off.
Yeah. This is going to be the Saxon of this one. How about Vixen? Do you know a single fucking player in the band Vixen?
I know the original four. I know of the original four.
And let me tell you, for people that are listening who don't know who Vixen is. Okay, before he gets there, let me tell you, if you don't know who Vixen is. Vixen, there was a joke back in the day when you saw Poison on the cover of Look What the Cat Dragged In, and they did not look like dudes. And then here comes Vixen, which is an all-female glam metal band, right?
These dudes look even better than Poison.
Exactly. So here comes, you got Poison and you got Vixen, and you can't figure out which group consists of the hotter ladies. And that was the debate for the longest time.
Who was hotter, Poison or Vixen?
So now we're going to get down to Vixen, and Paul is going to take us to Whitesnake from Vixen.
All right. Roxy Petrucci is the drummer for Vixen.
Uh-huh.
She did a band with her sister. I don't remember her sister's name.
Yeah.
Called Madam X.
Okay.
The lead singer of Madam X was Sebastian Bach.
What?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
Before Skid Row.
I didn't even know that.
And and so you take Skid Row and we went down that road already.
I'm sure I've seen that band's name somewhere. I mean, I've watched documentaries about Skid Row and all this, but I just never have explored.
If you ever saw a picture of Sebastian Bach with his hair,
I bet he was a beautiful.
He was a hot chick.
He was probably stunning.
He was a hot chick.
I would have put.
He wasn't as good looking as CeCe DeVille was on the cover of Look What the Cat Dragged In.
I would have put a poster of him up on my wall. I bet, right next to Cindy,
right next to
or Kathy Ireland. I might make an executive decision here, and we might take a break and come back and just do more 6 Degrees because I'm having a good time.
Okay.
We don't even need these superfluous other topics at the end. I can save them for another day. We're going to take a break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to finish up 6 Degrees of Whitesnake or 6 Degrees of classic metal here with Paul from Connecticut, so stick around.
Hey, what do we got here that goes with the most? I mean, I can't say my name, it's the B word and everything, but hey, I just want to say you're listening to WNUT. Hey, we really like it down here in the afterlife, you know what I'm saying? Oh my God, them guys are so funny. Anyway, listen, hey, I gotta go, man. I just want to stop by and say, hey, you're listening to WNUT, so keep it up. Kids playing radio for 30 years. WNUT.
You are back on WNUT Talk in the capable hands of me, Brandon, a.k.a. Stoney, and your boy Paul from Connecticut. We are guiding you through the history of all kinds of different, hair metal bands and classic metal bands and funk metal bands. And what we're doing is when we take your sweet little hand, we're not off to Never Never Land. We're going back to Whitesnake in 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon style. We're seeing like how many of these little stones can you hop to get across the pond?
How many of these guys can we?
We're gonna hitch a ride on their back.
How many of these guys can we link to Kevin Bacon?
There you go. You actually did that last time. You took Kevin Bacon and you went to Whitesnake through Eddie Murphy and some fun. But I just mentioned Vixen and you blew me the fuck away. You actually did it. You took us to Whitesnake from Vixen by way of Sebastian Bach. How about Autograph? Can you do Autograph?
I don't know any members of Autograph.
So we can't even turn up the radio?
That's all I know about Autograph.
Yeah.
That's all I know about Autograph is turn up the radio.
And if I ever hear that song, I just think about driving around Vice City some 20-odd years ago playing that game.
Right.
That's okay because we're going to go back to more familiar territory for you and me. Okay. I think we might have danced around this band, but we never discussed them in depth last time, or it might have even been when you were on WNUT with the rest of us. What about Wasp? Blackie Lawless and Friends, our boys in Wasp. I bet you can do this one.
I could do it.
Come on, man.
Because we did Quiet Riot already, and Frankie Banali played for Wasp a lot.
Oh, there we go. I was going to say, that was one of those bands that had like a revolving door.
And Chris Holmes, I'm sure he's played with people, but I know he was married to Lita Ford.
Yeah. What was your favorite, when you think of Wasp, like what song comes to mind? We did Ball Crusher on the Salute to Balls Part 2 a couple years ago. But I mean, like Fuck Like a Beast is one of those songs.
Fuck Like a Beast is a good song. Oh, I can't think of this.
That's one of those that people hear the name of it and they're like, that can't be real. And yes, it was, because it was such a big turning point in metal. It was when metal was starting to get the wrong attention, like the PMRC was sniffing around, and that got metal a lot of heat, and you started seeing all the debate about the stickers on records, and that was one of the
cover
songs.
of that album was a buzzsaw.
Yeah,
where
the
dick was
buzzsaw
supposed to
coming
be.
out of the crotch.
Yeah. My first foray into Wasp was the Crimson Idol. Which was because he said
was a concept record,
It was a concept
91
record.
or
I was
so.
big into concept records at that time because of Operation Mindcrime.
Yeah. I used to see that advertisement on
Streets album.
Yeah, every hit parader, and like they just had the full page ad for that record. So yeah, Wasp. I forget what we were doing earlier, and it took us into the Alice in Chains, and when we jumped into My Kind Is. Could you do Soundgarden? Could you look at Could you look at Kim Thiel or I bet if we looked at everybody that Cornell sang with and
Cornell was on. Soundgarden. I mean, the only thing I could say is he sang with Slash on the first solo album, not with the Snake Pit, but when he did that solo album with a whole bunch of different singers.
Yeah.
He did a song on that album. I thought he did.
Yeah, he did Promises.
Right. Who's the other?
Yeah.
Who's the
and so once you get
player? Damn it, Joan, damn it. What's his name?
I don't know.
Damn it is his nickname.
That's the greatest fucking stage name in history.
Todd Dammit Kearns. That's who it is. That's what they call him. Todd Dammit Kearns.
Oh boy.
And he sings with everybody.
So yeah, once you find your way to Slash, as we've demonstrated,
Slash,
and then you get to Brent Fitz.
And Todd Kearns.
That's a go around your elbow to get to your asshole kind of thing. We've used it several times, but it definitely takes us over 6 degrees, which is still fine.
For sure.
I mean, we get there. All right, so we're gonna do one more from the grunge era. Then I'm gonna hit you with a crazy little surprise one and see just how good at this you really are. And first, we're gonna go through Nirvana. Come on, I know you. Nirvana. Can do this.
Okay, well, yeah. No, we just go to Grohl.
Yeah, he's gonna be our
road. We'll go with Josh Freese first, and he played on the Slash album. Taylor Hawkins played with Alanis Morissette and Sash Jordan. Sash Jordan had Richie Kotzen play with her. Richie Kotzen was in Poison, Mr. Big with Billy Sheehan, and Paul Gilbert. Billy Sheehan played with he's played with Jeff Scott Soto.
See, he's not even Paul is at a point where he's established so many routes to get to Whitesnake. He doesn't even have to take us to Whitesnake. He just takes us to all these different inroads. He goes, you can go this way, you can take that road, you can take this one here.
All roads connect,
and they're all going to take you there.
It's just like New York City. All roads connect.
Let me see how good you are here, because this is basically just cheating. I just happen to know a little piece of trivia, and I'm going to throw it at you and see if you know it.
All right.
Can you get to Whitesnake from Tori Amos?
I don't know who played with Tori Amos.
Okay. The first album that Tori Amos ever put out was technically not under her name, but it kind of was. Okay. It was a band called Why Can't Tori Read?
Okay.
That band had a drummer named Matt Sorum, who later would be in Guns N' Roses with Slash, who worked with Brent Fitz.
I didn't know that Matt Sorum played with
I know. Okay. That's fucking crazy.
Okay.
I've known that album for years because it's catchy, like 80s pop, like 80s pop rock.
Yeah.
But I never knew that Matt Sorum was on it until like 2 years ago.
I think we'd find Matt Sorum on a lot of things that we wouldn't know.
Yeah, I mean, we know the Cult, but then when you get into shit that he, like, just session stuff that he just jumps
onto stuff, yeah. That's the same with that Josh Freese guy.
Let me see if you can really. This is the left field one that I was talking about.
Okay. I thought Tori Amos was.
I know, but that was just some bullshit I was going to do because I knew some trivia, and I was.
This is going to be harder than Tori Amos.
I don't know. Probably not. Can you get to Whitesnake from Limp fucking Bizkit? There's got to be a way, especially when you think about Wes Borland. Wes Borland's yeah. Wes Borland's been prolific, I'm sure.
Yeah, I know the name. And I know the name of...
He's the guitar... Wes Borland is the one that anybody who fucking hates Limp Bizkit, which is most people with sense, go, yeah, but then you got Wes Borland. Like, yeah, Limp Bizkit sucks, but Wes Borland.
But you got Wes
Borland.
Borland.
He's the one that people give a pass to.
I know them. I know of the singer, and I don't think the singer has done anything else.
No.
But...
and he needs to stop doing things.
Yeah.
How about something crazy like a David Bowie? Can you pull a miracle pass out, a Hail Mary, and do something with like David Bowie?
David Bowie. David Bowie played with, he sang with Mick Jagger.
And Mick Jagger's the one I used
Mick Jagger. Okay.
to get from The Who.
Okay.
But we don't necessarily
be
have
a
to go
weird-
that route because that's going to be Kenny Aronoff.
It's going to be a weird route.
Yeah, we can ignore Kenny Aronoff.
It'll be a weird route, but we'll get there.
right.
So Bowie sang with Jagger. Jagger sang on the Jackson's Victory album in 1985. He did the song State of Shock with Michael Jackson, who had Slash as his guitar player.
Which I think found its way into one of Weird Al's polkas, if I remember correctly.
Yes, it did. So there's Weird Al, too. No. But yeah, so go through the Michael Jackson on-ramp. And
That takes us Slash, Orianthi, et cetera, et cetera. Or
Alice Cooper.
Yeah. I forgot about Cooper, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. See, that's what I'm saying. There's been a couple I've tripped you up with today.
You got me with bands. I just don't know the names.
I went
don't know
deep
the names
into
of the
deep into the stacks
You ever hit me with your Limp Bizkit again? And
to pull out Junkyard.
And I'm not coming back.
Look, man, me and my Limp Bizkit, we stay busy. I hit a lot of people with it. Don't feel bad about that. Did you know, by the way, before we go, David Bowie was the Angel of Death in 1977. David Bowie duetted with two people who would not survive the year. First,
in 1977?
Yeah, we mentioned Mark Bolan earlier of T-Rex.
Okay, can I guess who the other person is?
He duetted with Mark Bolan a week before his death.
Okay.
Go ahead and guess who you think the other one is.
I'm going to say Bing Crosby.
Exactly. He duetted with Bing Crosby a month before he died. Mark Bolan on September 16th, Bing Crosby on October 14th. So if you're an artist that year...
Was that little drummer boy?
Yeah. If David Bowie comes up to you that year and says, "Hey, we should really work together," you just go like, "Man, look,
hey, why don't you go see if John Lennon's busy?"
go, I really appreciate what you're doing and everything. Or if you're David Bowie, how do you feel?
Right.
You're like,
right.
You're locking yourself in a room and saying like, I don't care who the fuck wants to work with me. You need to stay over there until this shit passes.
Yeah. You record your stuff and maybe I'll jump in later or something.
Yeah, but I tell you who needs to lock themselves in a room is fucking Paul from Connecticut. You need to do some research. You need to come back and tell me about Autograph and who the fuck else. Hanoi Rocks. You got some research to do, motherfucker.
Rock.
Well, we did. You can take a buy on Limp Bizkit. I don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
But man, this was a good one. I had fun today. This is a lot of good rock and metal history going on here. I'm just gonna start pulling random shit off the wall. Say, how about Primus? Can you do porno for pyros? We'll see how that goes next time on WNUT Talk. Join us then when the topic is going to be, I don't know what in the hell it is, because I usually never do, but it's probably going to involve Paul from Connecticut. We might do a little.
It's not going to involve Limp Bizkit.
In fact, we might do a little Superstar Slumps. How about that? This time I can tell you what the topic's going to be next time. In the meantime, check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms and live365.com or the free Live365 app. You just go to either one of those and you search WNUT and you are off to the races, listening to us all day long, and we'll be back before you know it.